Welcome to my YouTube channel, and today I'll be reacting to a video by Clint Reptiles. Yes, we did not come from chimpanzees, and let's start writing.
Well, hi there. This is the skull of an organism. If you had to put it in a box, like a human or not human box, which box would you put it in? I ask this to my classes every semester, and the general consensus is, well, always, that this is a human skull. Even most young Earth
100% that's a human sculpture. Right? Looks too good. Give this video a like and I'll probably yeah. So let's start.
young Earth creationists tend to consider this skull to be representative of a human skull. And I think, fair enough. This is a skull of a modern human. Looking at these two skulls side by side, would you conclude that these two skulls are exactly the same or somewhat different?
Probably not. This look way bigger and has edges around. Then this looks a little bit smaller, and chin bones kind of too different. This one has a very different arc, unlike this. So I would suspect this looks more like the recent human's skull. So I'll probably go with this than this here.
I think the answer is pretty clear that they are somewhat different. This is the skull of a chimpanzee. You can
Like, wait, no, go back.
say the same, somewhat different. This is the skull of a chimpanzee.
Well, it's like the brain has more age or has more shape than the normal regular humans. I think so.
You can see that it is different from the human skull in a lot of ways.
Very different from the teeth, the arrangement of the teeth, totally. And the scores, which are about the brain, looks much more different than the human. It actually has different kind of chin bone, if I'm not mistaken. These are way different, way different.
But I want to point out two of the most significant ways. One, the location of the brain case. In modern humans, the brain case sits on top of the brow ridge. In the chimpanzee, it sits behind the brow ridge, swept more backwards and thus exposing the brow ridge.
Way more behind, way different, and it houses the brain. A little different. I'll go with it. It looked kind of different from the normal regular human. So this doesn't look any similar.
Behind the brow ridge, swept more backwards and thus exposing the brow ridge. Second, the lower jaw. The lower jaw in mammals is composed of two bones, one on each side, called mandibular bones, that, in humans, fuse in the middle, a few months after birth, at a point called the mandibular symphysis. Because the mammalian jaw is made of a single bone on each side, this mandibular symphysis is the only place where bone fusion occurs. And it is thus the weakest part of the jaw and the most likely...
Like, who actually argued this though, that we came from chimpanzees? I don't know if people actually don't understand the concept of evolution.
place for the jaw to break. To compensate for this, the jaw is extra thick at the front. And in chimpanzees and all ape species except for one, that reinforcement is located on the tongue side.
This looks very more different. The way the eyes are being shaped on the skull, and even the ear looks a little bit different. Their skin kind of definitely harder than ours.
The jaw, a structure called a simian shelf. The simian shelf provides great additional strength to the jaw at the mandibular symphysis. Because it's on the inside of the jaw, it does reduce the space for tongue muscles, reducing lingual dexterity. It also, as a consequence of being inside of the jaw, isn't visible from the outside. And the lower jaw subsequently sweeps backward at the front. Modern humans, however, likely as an adaptation related to the increasing importance of speech, have this reinforcement not on the inside, as is the case with chimpanzees, but on the outside, on the front of the jaw, a structure we call a chin. Now, going back to the first skull, looking at it in comparison to the modern human skull, it's different. But is it
Way different, like 100% different. The eyebrow differently. This one has way thicker skull than this. I think so. Even it looks way different. Yeah. There's a gap in between one like this, so it will sing this very much different than this one actually.
different in random ways? Or is it different in ways that make it more similar to other apes? I think the answer is pretty clear. So it's apparent that in the past, there lived creatures that were more similar to modern humans than they were to chimpanzees, so much like modern humans that we might consider them to be humans themselves, but were more like chimpanzees and other apes than are modern humans. Now, this doesn't mean that humans evolved from apes, but if they did, then there is a pattern in these human-like apes that we would expect to see. We would anticipate that if you looked at all of the fossils of apes that appear to be more like humans than our chimpanzees, that the older the fossils, the less human-like, the most human-like fossils should become. In other words, if you lined up all of the most